What's going on YouTube? Super Insane 18 here, and today I am bringing you an ABC Therion deck profile. This is a deck that I am very excited for because ABC was technically the first Tier 1 competitive deck that I ever played when I started playing competitive, even though I got my invite before it came out because I was playing Mermail and I just wanted to die on that hill because I really like the deck. This was technically the first one that I did play, so let's go ahead and show you guys what we got. Alright, so kicking things off with the pieces, we have 2A, 3B, and 2C. This is the ratio that I feel is the best. The A and the C effects don't really come up all that often, but B is the best one because it just lets you search. And in playtesting, I've never needed more than 2 of each piece. It's just the third B just feels like it's necessary. You could probably just play 2 of each, but I think that if you're going to play 3 of any, the B is the one to play. And that's it for the pieces, really just self-explanatory. You need them for the Dragon Buster. Then we have 2 copies of Union Driver. I really didn't want to play more than one of this card, just because of the mindset of the more copies you play of a card, the more likely you are to open it, and this is definitely a card that you don't want to open. But in testing, I ran into way too many scenarios where playing it at 1, I opened it, and because I opened it, the game was just entirely unplayable, so I ultimately made the decision to bump it up to 2. Then we have 3 of the Therion. We're going to pretend that this is a third. Unfortunately, I was only able to get my hands on 2 during the sneak, but, you know, that's just kind of how it is. This card is really insane for any machine-based strategy, just giving you an Omni-Negate for almost free, but especially in the ABC deck, because you can just special the card that you equip it with. So, like, if you have a B in your grave, you summon this by equipping B to it, and then just summon your B for further extension, and it acts as an Omni-Negate, which is really cool. Then we are playing 2 copies of Magician Soul. This card is crazy for ABCs because the equip monsters, or the Union monsters rather, when they are equipped, are considered spells, so you can use the Magician Souls to send them to the graveyard to get your draws, but that will also activate the piece effects, because they all have effects of when they're sent to the graveyard from the field. So Souls is just really kind of nutty in this deck, so to pair with it we have our 2 copies of Illusion of Chaos, obviously, because we want to be able to search it easily. Then we are playing a Brave package. So we have 3 of the Water Enchantress and 1 Wandering Griffin Rider, really just standard. We are playing the DPE package, so we have the Celestial and the Dasher, unfortunately bricks, but not that big of a deal. And then we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom to finish out our monsters. There really isn't a lot of room for hand traps in this deck, so we are using the most versatile one, plus this is the best one to have against something like Despia, because the variants that are playing Magical Meltdown, and then even the non-invoked ones are also playing the Branded Loss. This is the only card that will stop the Branded Fusion, so I think it's the most important to have in the format that we're currently in. But that's it for the monsters. On to the spells. We obviously have our 1 Draco back and our 1 Fateful, with our 3 Rite of Aramasir for our Brave engine. Nothing really needs to be explained there. On to our 1-ofs, we have Called by the Grave, Foolish Burial, Set Rotation, and Terraforming. Now, the Foolish Burial is mostly for the Brave engine, but it can also serve kind of a second purpose as well. If you open the Therion King Regulus without any machines in your grave, you can just send a machine and then get an Omni-Negate on board relatively easily. The Set Rotation is because we are playing multiple field spells. Then we have 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This is a weird opinion that not a lot of people are probably going to agree with me on, but I never want to play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet again. I just feel like it's really hard because I think this is one of the strongest cards in the game, but during a case tournament a couple of months ago, the only games I lost were games where I opened multiple copies of Droplet because it just bricked my hand essentially. So I don't want to see so many copies of Droplet that it just becomes unplayable, so I feel like 2 is probably enough, definitely enough to the fact where you won't see it in every hand, so, I mean, it is what it is. I know that it should probably be played at 3, but just a personal opinion of mine. Then we have 2 Fusion Destiny. This is obviously for the DPE package. I don't think you want to play 1 because sometimes you don't have the luxury of going into your Verte Anaconda, so you want to be able to see it as well. Then on to our 3-ofs, we have 3 of the Therion Discoliseum. This is the new field spell for Therion. It literally just searches your King Regulus. So when you open this, you activate it, you search your Regulus, and then if you have Union Hanger, you just play Union Hanger on top and keep going from there. We have 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. This is just a really good card, and there are a lot of things in this deck that are hand trappable. So you want to make sure that if you get hand trapped, you don't just end your turn. This is the way you kind of secure that. Then we have 3 unauthorized reactivation. This is essentially a 4th, 5th, and 6th copy of Union Hanger, because if you open a piece without Hanger, as long as you see this, you can still equip your Union Driver, which essentially is the same thing. And then finalizing the deck, we have 3 copies of Union Hanger. This is just the generic field spell. You have to play it if you're playing ABC. You wouldn't want to play it at any less than 3. And that is a 50-card main deck. I think that most decks that play Adventurers can't really stick to 40, so we are playing 50. Let's go ahead and show you guys the extra. So we are just going to kind of rush through the extra because it's really simple and doesn't need too much explanation. We are playing our 3 copies of ABC Dragon Buster, just the boss monster of the ABC archetype, a targetable banish by discarding a card, and you can tag it out to get your pieces back. Then we have the 1 copy of Phoenix Enforcer for obviously our DPE package. We have Barricade Borg Blocker. This is just a good way to discard a piece if you have no other way to get the last piece engraved. We have the Dark Charmer. This is almost exclusively for our souls, just so that we can maybe steal our opponent's DPE or another dark monster, because we are in a very heavy dark format. Our copy of IP Masquerena, a Nightmare Phoenix, the Lena the Light Charmer, since the entire deck is lights, the Platinum Gadget, because it is very important to be able to summon out our additional pieces, and the Verte Anaconda, the Nightmare Unicorn, the Access Code Talker, the Appaloosa, and finally the Underworld Goddess. This is a really cool card in this deck since the Fusion Dragon Buster can tag out for the other 3 pieces. When you start your turn, you can use the 3 pieces along with whatever else you might have left over and a monster your opponent controls to make this, and then since your pieces went to grave, you'll get all their effects, and then because they're in the grave, you can banish them for the Dragon Buster. So I think Underworld Goddess is just a actually very good card in this deck. So let's go ahead and show you guys the basic bread and butter combo. Alright guys, so this is a deck that is very hard to show you combos for because every turn is going to be vastly different depending on what you open, but I did want to show you guys just a single combo, and this is what I would consider the bread and butter combo of the deck, and it is just a way to get into your Therion and your Union Hanger. So the Disc Coliseum can either be the Disc Coliseum, the Terraforming, the Set Rotation, or the King Regulus itself, but the Union Hanger is kind of set in stone. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate our Therion Disc Coliseum first and search our King Regulus, and that's pretty much all we need it for. We're going to then get rid of it to activate our Union Hanger, and the Union Hanger on activation is going to search us a copy of B Buster Drake. Here we can normal summon the B Buster Drake and activate the effect of Union Hanger to equip our Union Driver to it from our deck. Here we can use the Union Driver effect, banishing it to equip a copy of C Crush Wyvern. Now we can special summon the C because it's not locked under the inability to summon from the Union Hanger, which is why the Driver is such an important middleman for this combo. But then we can take both of them and we can link them into a copy of Platinum Gadget. Now here we would activate just the B because we don't have anything else. If you have another piece, you can activate C, and one thing you guys need to actually look out for is something is like legal cheating. Cheating's never legal, but since you don't know your opponent's hand and the rules changing where you're not allowed to confirm their hand anymore, if they chain 1 Crush Wyvern and chain 2 Buster Drake with no pieces in hand, they could technically summon the piece that Buster Drake searches, because the ruling on that is as long as they have a valid target, you are allowed to summon the search. Since the search happens before the summon resolves, you could summon the one that you searched, but in order to do that, you do have to have a pre-existing valid target, but unfortunately you can't really confirm if they have a valid target, so just kind of be on the lookout for that. But for this instance, we're only going to activate the effect of B since we do not have a valid target for C, and we will add our copy of A. Here, the next thing that we're going to do is summon out our King Regulus by targeting the B in the graveyard and equipping it, and this puts out an Omni Negate as soon as possible. This is the first opportunity that we have, so now we have an Omni Negate and we can feel kind of good with ourselves. Here we will use the Platinum Gadget to special the A to a zone that it points to, and then we can activate our Buster Dragon effect to special summon it, and this is where the play can somewhat differ. So we're going to link away with both of these, and you have 2 options. You can go into the IP or you can go into the Verte Anaconda. It really just depends on what you want to do. personally, I think the Verte Anaconda might be the strongest play. IP definitely has some strength behind it as well, but I'll show you guys pretty much where that differs. So we'll leave both of these here. I'll show you both. Let's go ahead and say we went with the Verte Anaconda since that's my preferred line. But B is not once per turn, so we can activate the B effect again and just add another piece. It doesn't matter what. Then we can go ahead and banish all of our pieces. So we have the A, the B, and the C, and this will get us into a copy of Dragon Buster. Here we can activate the Verte Anaconda, which I did not prep, sending the Fusion Destiny, and that will let us send our Dasher and our Celestial, and this will give us our DPE. And so now what we did was we guaranteed that we have a discard for our Dragon Buster since we searched another piece. Granted, we still have 3 other cards that we started with. Then we also have a Destruction with the DPE, and we have the Omni Negate with our King Regulus, so that is going to be 3 different interruptions. Then, because what we're probably going to do is pop this and the DPE on our own turn just to make sure we don't get super polyed, we'll have enough room to tag out with the Dragon Buster, and that means that we can pretty much do it all again on our next turn. And now we're just going to go back a step and say that we summoned out the IP Masquerena, and this lets us do some things a little bit differently. We still get our B effect to search any piece, it does not matter what piece, and then we're going to banish the A, the B, and the C once more to get us our copy of Dragon Buster. And now we are in a slightly different position with definitely different interruptions. So we still have our Banish guaranteed, we still have our Omni Negate, we have 4 cards total in hand, the 3 that we started with other than our combo, and the piece that we searched. And here's what we can do. So there's a couple of different options. We can use the IP and the Platinum Gadget right away to just go into a 2 negate Appaloosa, adding 2 additional negates to our field. If we wanted to hold off on it, what we could do is we could use our Dragon Buster first, discarding a card to banish, then tag out the Dragon Buster to summon back our 3 pieces, and this gives us even more material, so we could make a 3 or 4 material Appaloosa now with our IP Masquerena, or what I also like to do, if we feel like we have locked down our opponent enough, we can use the IP and then these 3 pieces plus 1 monster our opponent controls to go into the Underworld Goddess. Then we would get all of the pieces effects as well, so we'd be able to search, we'd be able to summon if we had a pre-existing target, and we'd be able to add 1 from grave. So it does work pretty well, and then we get the Underworld Goddess, which lets us clear something on their side of the field. And then we have all our pieces ready again for our next turn. So that is going to be it. You guys know the deal. Subscribe, comment, notification bell, all that jazz, share with your friends, and maybe consider supporting me on Patreon, because for just $1, you could support the channel in a way that I would never be able to tell you how much I fully appreciate. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.